Hello, everyone. My name is Kervelle Baird. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I serve as National Coordinator for Trinidad and Tobago in the Commonwealth Youth Climate Change Network. I am passionate about the work we do because I can use my interest in understanding how the Earth system works to facilitate public education and help vulnerable communities in the face of climate change.
Hello, my name is Azeez Abubakar and I am the chair of the Policy and Advocacy Committee at the Commonwealth Youth Climate Change Network. I'm genuinely passionate about sustainable development, innovation, and technology. I lead and co-lead in several SDG-focused projects championing action for positive change in the world. So I'd like to have Kervelle talk about the challenges we're tackling.
Well, for context, climate change is a global crisis that affects people negatively across the world. Among others, the poorest, most vulnerable, and those furthest behind are disproportionately affected by climate change and its impacts because prevailing low levels of socioeconomic development. According to Greenpeace, millions, especially in Africa and small islands, among others, lack the resources to quickly recover from climate change and its impacts. Vulnerable groups are hit the hardest by health crises, such as the Ebola virus outbreak and the COVID-19 pandemic. In the added context of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is increasingly evident that the vulnerable groups greatly suffer from the massive pandemic-triggered social, economic, and environmental crises. So to understand more about how the climate crisis is affecting vulnerable groups, I will draw your attention to the idea that the climate crisis is essentially extreme weather. This will have impacts on health, such as heat waves that disproportionately affect the elderly, economic consequences, such as farmers and fisherfolk who are unable to produce the yields that they are accustomed to. When people are forced to migrate because of threats to their lives and livelihoods, it exposes them to conflict. Communities such as those in the Arctic are also at risk of losing their lives just to retrieve food in the way they're accustomed to, such as ice fishing. And what the COVID-19 pandemic has illustrated, in particularly the access to vaccines, is that richer, more powerful countries are best suited to be able to survive a crisis like this. And more about how the climate crisis affects vulnerable groups. Islands in the Pacific are currently losing their lands. Islands such as Kiribati has purchased land in nearby Fiji for millions of dollars. However, Fiji is equally susceptible to the climate threats that Kiribati faces. Indigenous communities, such as those in the Andes, can no longer rely on rainfall to irrigate their crops. Farmers in India have been facing alarming rates of suicide because their livelihoods and lives are also under threat. And these are just a few examples of how the climate crisis is affecting the most vulnerable groups. At the heart of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is a pledge to leave no one behind. By paying particular focus on the vulnerable groups and helping to recover greener, turn it around, and build a new and better world, we must unite all generations to take intentional action and ensure no one is left behind. So I invite Azeez to tell you more about a campaign in which CYCN hopes that we can achieve this.
Okay, once again, thank you for having us on this wonderful event. So, the Commonwealth Secretary General, Patricia Scotland, said, and I quote, "Young people are resilient. Young people can create change in the world. Young people are tech smart, they are innovative, and have a unique perspective on our opportunities and challenges. We do a grave disservice to all in our communities by when we fail to harness this exceptional talent and vitality. I relate so much to this statement because young people such as Vanessa Nakate, Greta Thunberg, and Lizzie Priya Kungujam have demonstrated how much positive impact youth can create in the fight against the climate crisis. We have seen them create some really amazing initiatives like the Fridays for Future, a climate action movement compelling world leaders to take urgent action now to end the climate crisis. At CYCN, we believe that to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 13 climate action by 2030, we need you to lead the way to ensure intergenerational action on the climate crisis, with a particular focus on supporting the vulnerable groups. So our global campaign would create awareness of the impacts of climate change on vulnerable groups, such as marginalized people in refugee camps, disabled people, and women, amongst others. It would emphasize the importance of uniting all generations to take urgent climate actions, such as climate adaptation and mitigation on the climate crisis, with a focus again on the vulnerable groups. The campaign theme is around intergenerational action on the climate crisis, with a particular focus on supporting the vulnerable groups, ranging from people, communities, and ecosystems. Our focus for our campaign is climate action, which is SDG 13, and our focus targets are targets 1, 2, and 3, which is to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacities against climate-related disasters, and to also integrate climate change measures into our policies and planning, and to build capacity, build knowledge and capacity to meet climate change needs. Our proposed campaign would launch in the month of August 2021, and it's going to feature an action challenge where we're going to run this action challenge for 2 weeks in the month of August, calling on all generations globally to take intentional action on the climate crisis to support the vulnerable groups in their local communities. We would inspire you to share their actions on social media using our campaign hashtag and mentioning our social media handles at CYCN Official. The top action takers would be rewarded during this period. So how do you get involved in our campaign? Anyone can get involved in our campaign, from civil society organizations to individual citizens to businesses. And at its simplest, this involves you sharing pre-produced assets, media assets on digital channels like social media and websites, or taking climate action targeted at supporting the vulnerable groups, or signing and endorsing our global call, or partnering with us and letting us know if you have a specific campaign targeted at the vulnerable groups you'd like us to promote. And finally, developing activations regionally, nationally, or locally. To sum up this session, learning from all sectors and experiences would enable us to truly reach climate action by 2030. At the Commonwealth Youth Climate Change Network, we believe in collaboration. It is only by working together that we can achieve a common goal, which is SDG 13, climate action, by the year 2030. We need to show the world that the only way to achieve climate action is to achieve it united. And we call on all generations to unite and take action this August 2021 during our campaign. And we are looking forward to your active participation in our campaign. Once again, thank you to the Matchworks Science team for featuring our session and allowing us to be part of this wonderful event. Let us unite to restore our Earth. Happy Earth Day 2021.